Hello, everyone. I'm here as a coach to help you discover athletes with the eating disorders and the types of eating disorders and the things that can kind of help you and guide you in dealing with them. Let's get started. The first main eating disorder we're going to cover today is anorexia nervosa, the main characteristics of which are having a body weight 15% low the average weight for their age and height, a very large fear of gaining weight, and these individuals often have body dysmorphia. They don't see their body the way it truly is. Um, and then the main difference between anorexia nervosa and what we're going to get into in the next slide, which is bulimia, is that these people don't realize that their weight and behavior regarding eating habits and all of that is they don't believe that it is not normal. They see it as normal and they don't see it as being a problem. So that is the biggest difficulty in dealing with this. Um, it's a very unhealthy disease. It can lead to starvation, other medical complications, and even death. Medical complications include things like heart disease, for example. Moving on to bulimia, it's a less severe disease. Um, what you're looking for in this kind of disease for diagnosing it. Not that that would be what you would do as a coach, but you're going to try to refer them to a professional that deals with eating disorders. But they're looking for periods of overeating, and if people can't stop eating, they feel like they have no control over the habit. Um, they often engage regularly in things like vomiting, excessive exercise, dieting, diuretics to lose body water weight, or even things like fasting for long periods of time. Um, to be diagnosed as bulimic, you actually have to have this going on for an average of at least 2 days per week for 3 months. These people, just like anorexics, are very worried about their body weight. They see it as something very important to them, and it's a big deal to them. Um, Though it's less dangerous, it does lead to anorexia, which is why it's best to nip it in the bud. Um, it's often a vicious cycle of the person with the eating disorder feels down, and then they start to eat to feel better, and then they feel guilty about what they ate, so they go towards finding a way to purge the food um, in some way or another, where they're not actually gaining weight from that food. Um, But like I said, these people do realize they have a problem, so that's why it's better to stop it here when you have a chance, if you can see it, if you can find it in someone. As a coach, you try to look out for eating disorders in athletes. That is a big responsibility. You're trying to protect your athletes, keep them safe, healthy, of sound in mind. There's psychological and behavioral signs such as excessive dieting, binge eating, frequent weighing, excessive exercise. It's not part of your program. Drugs, diuretics to control weight. They don't want to eat in public. They're trying to hide their behaviors. And eating a lot of food and not even getting weight. That's a very clear sign there. Physical signs, obviously, large amount of weight loss. Females losing their period, otherwise known as amenorrhea. Swollen salivary glands, stomach complaints. They're having stomach pain, headaches and dizziness, bloating and numbness, tingling in the limbs. They might be very low on energy if they're not really replacing the nutrients necessary to sustain them with all the exercise they're doing in their sport. Um, Eating disorders in sports are much more common than the general population. Um, Disorder eating and weight loss techniques are very common. A lot of these athletes are looking for performance gains or aesthetic gains, things like that, which are very sport specific and are common in sports that require you to be lean. So endurance sports, body fat has a correlation with performance. The leaner you are, the faster you'll go, things like that. Sports like gymnastics, diving, stuff like that, where you're judged based on the way you look. And I think a lot of these sports where you have less clothing on, you can see your body much more. You're going to be much more self-aware and feeling a little bit self-conscious about the way your body looks. Women are at a greater risk for developing eating disorders more than males, but for both of them, it's a very big deal. But more common in females, um, and it's much more likely for females to develop amenorrhea when they play sports than the general population. This can also lead the eating disorders can also lead to osteoporosis, which could put their bones at risk for fracturing, things like that. Things that can increase the likelihood of eating disorders, things like weight restrictions and standards, or things like um, for like wrestling, where you have to weigh in your athletes, they have to cut and make weight. Coaching and peer pressure. So if your coach is putting pressure on you to cut weight, for example, or if your teammates are also cutting weight, they're also doing things to lose weight. Um, Sociocultural factors such as the way America places such an importance on being skinny, all these people in magazines, all these actors, athletes being very lean and seeing that as the norm. That's going to push people to feel like they have to be like that as well. As we discussed earlier, things that where there's a correlation between performance and body fat percentage. A lot of these sports, like endurance sports, are going to require you to be very lean, such as cycling, for example, or running marathons. Um, as you can see in the picture, judging criteria, if people are on display for the way they look, that's going to play a big impact on how they see themselves, and it's going to make them feel like it's very important for them to look good. Um, Certain personality factors of athletes could lead them to be more prone to developing eating disorders. If they're submissive and they conform, maybe their coach's input might have a little more say on someone that's like this, other uh, aside from someone that might be more independent and more level-headed, might have their own ideas about what they need to do with their body. Um, as a coach, it's your best responsibility to find it. If you do suspect something, you're going to want to find a professional, have some ideas in your head about what you want to do. It can be difficult to spot someone. Someone might have some signs of eating disorders, but they might not actually have them. But you got to have a plan ready um, when there's an issue at present, or you think there might be. Um, it's best to find someone that has the best relationship with them because they're going to listen to them and hear them out the most. Um, and when that person helps them out and tries to set a time and place to discuss their concerns about the eating disorders or possibilities of them, it's best to just help lead them to make an appointment with a professional that's dealing with things like eating disorders, and just tell them like there could be a problem. Maybe there not be, but it's best to find out, right? Moving on. These are just some proper behaviors for supporting those with eating disorders. All right. You're looking to be empathetic, supportive. You want this person to feel like there's a friend that's going to help them. Right. You don't want to be pushy. You just want to lead them in the right direction. Be a good friend. Be a good person to them. All right. Emphasize nutrition. This is going to mean that they might think that, okay, you might have performance gains if you lose weight, but tell them if they're not replacing the nutrients that they need, that they burn on a regular basis, such as all their glycogen stores, if they're not eating carbohydrates, they're gonna break down their body faster than they can repair because your body's gonna be using other things to replace those carbohydrates. And again, refer them to a professional. This is super important. This is where they're really gonna get help. Um, Things that should be avoided are things like weigh-ins with your team. You don't want it to be public. It shouldn't be mandated. All right. And you don't want to single out individuals. Things like calling them fat or calling them out in front of their team are going to really affect them mentally. It could have a really large negative impact. Um, and like I said, find a professional. Discussing the problem with someone that doesn't know could lead to the person with a possible eating disorder being given misinformation, led down a wrong path, and it's not going to help lead them in the right direction to solve the problem. And that's all I have for everyone today. I hope this helps you guys support your athletes and do the best you can with that. Thank you.